there are three types in which these childhood wounds will show up in you as parents, right? The first is being the over controlling parents, where they lacked stability and emotional support in their own childhood, and that's why they want to micromanage their child's life, right? It's they confuse control with safety, right? They are like constantly they need to control their child's life,
Yeah.
right? That's one. The second you will see is the avoidant parents who were ignored by their own parents as children, and now they want to they feel like my child's success and achievements are my worth, they are mine, I will draw my worth from there, right? So it becomes very emotionally self-sabotaging for the child, that every time there is this pressure of I want to, my parents are asking me to do this, and that's why I have to get this done, right? Then the people pleaser is when the child's, again, they are after the child's life, that you do this, it'll make me happy, or you do this because I'm saying, because I'm the parent and I'm saying something, so you have to get this done. So that creates a lot of performance pressure on the children, that when they're always trying to please their own parents, that's what they will do with the world around them also, right? So these are the three, I think, ways in which you can see childhood wounds showing up in parents.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for answering that. So these days you see many parents try to stay strong for their kids,
Yeah.
So, but what happens when vulnerability is replaced by the silence triggers? Would you like to share your insights over here?
Yeah, sure. See, the mistake is that emotions is not weakness. That is something that people are not able to process these days, or maybe from a while now. But emotions is a part of being a human being. If you are feeling angry, sad, happy, it's just you being a human being, right? So I don't see where this myth has come up from, that oh, you can't cry, oh, you are a parents are not allowed to be sad. Like this, you are showing the children that emotions are very, don't be emotional, don't show your emotions, it's your weakness, right? So I think silence is not strength. Silence is again a weakness, that inside you are feeling insecure and you become silent, right? So by doing this, if you become silent and if you stop expressing emotions, you are actually killing the transparency between you and and your own kids. They will never come out to you and talk to you about their own feelings. So don't so I think that should not be there. But the good way of it is, you should always take emotions as a very normal part of your being, and be able to express it openly in front of your own kids. Tell them that I'm feeling angry, can you please give me 5 minutes, let's talk about this later, right now I'm not in the right set of mind, right? So this way I think it'll get better. But yeah, this is what my take would be on emotional being emotionally very active and present in front of your kids.
Got it. So my next question to you is, these days we also see that, my question to you is, it would be in this way, that how can parents' mental state directly shape a child's ability to be able to handle their own emotions?
Yeah. So there's one thing that I always tell parents, that your child will mirror you. Okay. No matter what you say, your child will only do what you do, what they see you doing. Right? So if you yourself as parents are not able to regulate yourselves and you become anxious people, your child will constantly feel unsafe around you and in their own bodies and around their own environment, because that's what they saw. They saw their parents constantly in this anxious phase, that oh my god, what happened, why will, how, when. All these things they will have a direct mirror effect on your kids, believe me. Not now, a few years later you will see that very prominently, but the child will grasp it, that okay, she's constantly anxious, my dad's constantly worried about something. Just examples I'm giving, that if they see either of the parent being worried, that's what they take. right? So you cannot expect you being anxious parents and your child being somebody very relaxed, and that is not going to happen, right? So that's number one. And the second is, if you yourself are anchors in your emotional strength, you are resilient, then the child learns not only how to be emotional, but they also learn the emotional trajectory of recovery from emotions. That's also important, right? Suppose you are angry today. That doesn't mean that my mom is an angry person. She's just feeling angry at the moment. It'll pass. My mom will feel back, she'll be happy again. It is just that she's angry at the moment. Something might have been triggering her. And that trajectory is very important, that parents always miss out on, yeah, we expressed we are angry, but it takes time for you to recover also, right? So along with showing the children emotions, you also have to teach them that it takes some time, it's temporary, and it's okay. Feel that way, but when you are okay, come back and talk to me.
Great. So my next question to you is, what are the most subtle signs that child is struggling mentally or emotionally but can't express it in words? So how do parents, recognize that?
Yeah, amazing question. So the first would be that the child, if your child, if you see very rigid routine, the need to be in routine for the child is constantly both ways, extremely following a routine, or is rebelling against a routine, that I do not want what you are telling me to do, I will not go to this class, I don't want to go to the school. Both ways is a sign that we need some intervention to happen, right? The second is sudden silence, no play. He's like, I want to sit at home, because every child has a different way of expression.
True.
Right? Some might rebel, some might completely, go down in the shell and say they will become silent.
Yeah.
Right? So that second thing, that if they become completely silent, they don't want to meet their friends, they don't want anything to do, they're just sitting at home, that's also a sign. Right? The third one is small regressions in behaviors that you've seen, that he used to behave this way, but suddenly he's started to behave differently. He's reacting in very different ways than he used to do. That's number three. Have a keen eye, have a very observant eye on behavioral patterns of kids. That's where most of the times I've seen reflection happening. Right? And the fourth one would be some art forms, or children who are into arts and crafts and vocal, they might either start listening to some kind of dark songs, that or they might start drawing something that is a way of expressing that they're not happy. So these will be 4 ways where parents can now, of course, I could have gone really deeper into a lot of, but these are very general ways that I'm telling, that very common ways that parents can identify through.
Great. So the next question I have for you is, how can parents teach emotional regulation to their children when they themselves are still learning to manage their own emotions? And would you like to also share some examples over here?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So first is that focus on repair. Right? I don't run after instantly, that first is don't react, respond. Right? As parents, do that. That's number one step. Even if you are self-regulating yourself, if you react, over, right? Because the action has come out. Now you cannot take it back.
Yeah.
Right? So respond, take some time and focus on repairing the situation, not just, temporarily sliding it away, that okay, do whatever you want to, you're always doing this, you always make me angry. These kind of sentences really stick with the children. So instead of take some time, I always tell parents, please focus on repairing things. This instantly, fixing is not going to help. Right? So take some time and repair. Now by repairing, I mean you go back to the child, you take some time first. Suppose the child is having a meltdown, he says, no, I want this, you always tell me no, I want to eat chocolate ice cream today, you are not giving it to me, this, that, right? If you turn around and start shouting at the child that no, I will not give you are always after my life, it becomes an entire scene. Neither are you able to put across your point, neither the child is able to put across his point. Right? It becomes, all goes away. Now you take a step back. Being an adult, it is our responsibility to be able to be more emotionally receptive of these things, right? So we take a step back and we say, okay, give me 5 minutes and we'll talk about it calmly. You also go, take some time. I'll also go and take some time, right? As a parent, I showed my child that we are not going to react and get into a fight here, and we are going to take some time, cool off our heads, and come back and talk about it, right? So that's when the child, and so you go back and you say, okay, right? So the second thing that you did here was you said aloud the technique. You told the child the technique of handling big emotions like anger and all these big emotions, right, that children are struggling with. You gave the child the technique that instead of reacting, go back, take some time, cool off, and come back. That's the technique. That's second step. And then you push in the lesson, right? That now I'm ready to talk. Let's talk about it. Why I told you no was because you are having a toothache, or you've already brushed your teeth. Anything that will logically explain the child that okay, this is why my mom was denying me to have the ice cream. It's not like she's wanting to have a fight with me, right? So these are ways of how you have to handle a child and be self-emotional regulated also, and also help the child become self-regulated, right? So that's, and the last thing would be that please focus on some tools. As parents, I always give them tools, right? Tools in terms of like this was a tool, right? So parenting tools are very important. Focus on tools that you can use in such times where you are having a meltdown or a fight with your child. These tools will become very handy and help you navigate, okay, this is what I should have done instead of this. Right.
Thank you for sharing that. So the next question I have for you is, how do so many parents feel guilt for taking care of themselves, and how can they reframe their self-care as a part of a good parenting, and how do they even teach their children to take care of themselves as well?
Yeah. All right. So first is self-care is looked at as a reward. In many cases, actually, I've seen, especially for the mothers, because they have this myth that is, it's very unfortunate, but it's the reality. Honestly, I've seen it. Mothers have always been this self-sacrificing, in this zone of it's, as a female, as a mother, I have to do it. I don't have a choice, right? So that gets you in the mode of being very self-sacrificial, and you take self-care as a reward, that I will only get it when I get this is done. First I checklist, then only I can sit, right? So the first thing is for parents, even for dads, now that times have changed a lot, both the parents have become equally involved in everything, for that matter. I think for both the parents, it's very important to treat self-care as something that is a part of their routine, right? It should not be a reward. It is not something that they have to earn, or that they have to only, it's like only if they achieve a certain number of things they can get self-care. No, please treat self-care as a very important step, because you cannot fill from an empty cup. Even for your children, even for your spouses, for your parents, anybody, if you yourself are not happy, if you yourself are not doing good internally and mentally, you can never give or pour happiness to any other cup.
Absolutely, yes.
Right? So start with that first. Treat self-care as a very priority, that even if you want to look at it from that way, that if I want to take care of my child, I have to take care of myself first. What if I don't take care of myself? How will I take care of my child?
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's how you should, please, I really emphasize on this. Please do self-care as a routine, as a habit. Make it a habit, right?
Great.
And yeah,